Before we get started, please take a moment to hit the like button. Then after that, hit the subscribe button. And then after that, hit the bell, and you will be notified about any future shows that are coming up. So take the time out and do that right now, okay? All right, so now let's get started. All right, first of all, let me start off by saying it took a while to get there, but we hit 1,000 subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. We wanted to have some balloons going up and some confetti and stuff, but unfortunately, Carol didn't get to the party store today, so we weren't able to do that. Shame on you, Carol. All right, so as I said, it did take a while to get there, and thank you, everyone, for helping us make that happen. Okay, this is episode 23, and today's show is entitled A Touch of Gold, and we'll be talking about Elvis's extended play 45s and the birth and purpose of that format. They're called EPs, okay, extended plays 45s, but we call them EPs for short, all right? Now, before I get into this, I want everybody to know that I'm not a real big collector of EPs. I never really have been. I've been buying Elvis records since 1964, but I never really bought too many EPs. I got to be honest with you. I'll tell you which ones I did buy when I get into this, but I guess I'm telling you this because I'm not going to be able to accurately cover everything, and there will be some of you out there, some collectors out there that will have knowledge about some of the stuff that I don't particularly have. Now, of course, I did work on the book with Jerry Osborne, which is Presleyana, and it is a collector's guide and everything. But Jerry did a lot of taking care of things like the 45s and the EPs, and I basically had to learn off of him and then learn off of my own experience of dealing with 45 collections and EP collections. So on this show, I'm only going to be talking about the EPs that were commercially available to the public for purchase, okay? I'm not going to be talking about the RCA promotional EPs or various artist EPs where Elvis had one or two tracks on them. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm also not going to be talking about the SBD 22 or 23, which was a double and triple pocket EP that came with the RCA record players back in the 50s. We'll talk about that on another show because most of that stuff was promo, although there were a few various artist box sets and things that came out in the 50s that included an Elvis track. Let's talk about the birth and the history of the extended play single. An extended play record, usually referred to as an EP, is a musical recording that contains more tracks than a normal 45 single, typically 5 to 9 songs, but fewer than an album or an LP record. Now, although they were the same size and speed as 45 singles, they came packaged in a cardboard cover, which resembled like a mini album. And they were considered less expensive and time-consuming for an artist to produce than an album was. RCA Victor released Elvis's first two EPs simultaneously with his first LP in March of 1956. Both the LP and the two EPs were titled simply Elvis Presley. Issued at the same time, the two EPs combined included all 12 songs available on the LP. The EP came in a gatefold cover. The single EP version came afterwards with only about 4 of the songs featured on the double EP. Now, by 1967, folks, the extended play format had run its course, and Elvis's final EP, which was called Easy Come, Easy Go, was released. There would be no other EPs pressed until 1996, when RCA released a one-time EP entitled Heartbreak Hotel and I Was the One for its 40th anniversary. The EP featured 2 versions of Heartbreak Hotel and I Was the One and had a total of 4 songs, which was kind of unusual because Easy Come, Easy Go came out 1967. So it took, 20 years or so before RCA decided to release another EP. And it was kind of strange because there hadn't been an EP in that long of a time. I'm surprised they didn't just do, like a single for the anniversary, the 40th anniversary of Heartbreak Hotel. But instead, they kind of put it in this EP format with two different versions of, I think, the master and then an alternate take of Heartbreak Hotel on one side, and then a master and an alternate take of I Was the One on the flip. And it was weird because it didn't come in a cardboard cover. It was more of a, kind of a paper cover. Not exactly a picture sleeve, but not exactly a cover for an EP. So that came out in 1996. And that was, as far as I know, that was the last EP that RCA printed or pressed for Elvis. Okay, so at this time, this is going to take a little bit of time here, but I wanted to mention the extended play releases from first to last, starting with the EPA 1254 called Elvis Presley in 1956. The EPA 747, Elvis Presley, was also in 1956. The EPA 821, Heartbreak Hotel, another one from 1956. The EPA 940, The Real Elvis, 56. EPA 830, Elvis Presley, also 56. And EPA 965, Any Way You Want Me, 56. And Elvis Volume 1 in 1956. Elvis Volume 2 in 56. And the EPA 4006, Love Me Tender, was also in 1956. I mean, holy cow. This was, 9 EPs were released in 1956. I guess the format really was working well. But you know what? I think the reason why is because 45s were cheaper, right? I can't remember the exact price of an EP. I think maybe an EP was maybe a $1.50 or, I think like $1.49 maybe, or $1.99. I can't remember exactly. But they went along good with 45s, because in the 50s, young people, kids collected 45s because they couldn't afford the albums. And so that's what they did. They would buy all the 45s that came out. So to them, it was kind of a treat because they were getting more than one song, and they get this little album cover. So it was kind of mini albums. So it was definitely a popular format in 1956. Now in 1957, the first release of 1957 was EPA 994, which was strictly Elvis. Then there was EPA 4054, Peace in the Valley. Then there was EPA 11515, which was Loving You, Volume 1. And then EPA 2, 1515, which was Loving You, Volume 2. I happen to have the EPA Volume 2 here, so I thought I'd show that to you. This is what a little EP looks like. You can see it's cardboard. It's kind of cool. It has, it looks like a mini album, so I guess that's kind of neat. But this is the Volume 2 of Loving You, and the record came inside, did not have a sleeve. So, for those who are sensitive about fingerprints on records, oh well, what can you do? There were no sleeves back then. But here is the 45, that came inside. And kind of hard to show here. There we go. But that's the 45 with Nipper upside down. And then here we have Nipper on the right side up. Okay, so there's your 45. And then I think this one has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 songs on it. So this was EPA 2, 1515, Elvis Presley, Loving You. Loving You Volume 2, that is. Kind of funny because, like, the first album they did was the 1254, and they divided it in half and did, put it in EPs, right? So it's kind of strange that when Loving You came out, they didn't do like a double EP. They just did 2 single EPs, but they probably put all of the songs that were on the album, on here. Although, you might remember, Loving You has some songs that were not in the movie. Now, let's see, are they in this here? Lonesome Cowboy, Hot Dog, Mean Woman Blues, and Got a Lot of Living to Do. Yeah, I guess those are all in Loving You. Yeah, they are. So those 4 are in Loving You. So I'd imagine in Volume 1 they should be too. Okay, so the next one that comes along is Just For You, which is EPA 4041. And then rounding things off in 1957 was the EPA 4114, which was Jailhouse Rock. Jailhouse Rock was the very, very first EP that had the movie soundtrack on the EP, basically. Okay, there was no album for Jailhouse Rock until much, much later when Follow That Dream put out a Volume 1 and Volume 2, because Elvis had done a whole lot of alternate takes, and they had plenty of stuff to release. But back then, they had Jailhouse Rock, and I think it only had about 5 songs on it. But it was like the first mini soundtrack EP, all right? And that was Jailhouse Rock. All right, right after that, keeping with the soundtracks again, the next one in 1958 was the 4319, which was King Creole Volume 1. And then it followed pretty much right away with the EPA 4321, which was King Creole Volume 2, which I happen to have here. And here it is. Now this, I always like this one. This is a cool cover, because it's different, than the album cover. Now, of course, the album, this is Loving You, right? The original. And the original, this one looks like the album cover, all right? But for Volume 2 of King Creole, they decided to make it look different than the cover of King Creole. So I thought this was kind of neat. And I like the blue cover and everything. It's kind of neat. Hey, I sound like other YouTubers, don't I? Hey, I like this album. I like this album. Anyway, so there's that, and here's the back cover, and that's King Creole. And let's see what's on here. Let's see. I don't even... Oh, here they are. Sorry. This one has Trouble, Young Dreams, Crawfish, and Dixieland Rock. Okay? So that is Volume 2 of King Creole. And, of course, a little look at the 45. Pretty much the same thing as the other one. It has a, RCA with Nipper. I can't see these things. So there we go. With Nipper on the top. And it's a black label. Then after King Creole Volume 2 came out, Elvis, of course, went in the Army. So they decided, well, you know what? They did this interview with him. So you know what? They're going to put out an EP called Elvis Sales. And it's going to be the actual interview Elvis gave when he was getting on the boat, I think, to go to Germany. But anyway, that was the next one, Elvis Sales, which was kind of a unique EP unto itself. All of these up to this point, up to Elvis Sales, was a compilation of songs that were released on LP. Elvis Sales was exclusively an interview that was made for the EP. All right, after that, the next one was the EPA 5088, Touch of Gold Volume 1, and this was 1959 now. Elvis is already in the Army, so this is the Colonel pulling out whatever he can to keep Elvis alive in the record market. And then EPA 5101, which was the Touch of Gold Volume 2. All right, and that was also 1959. Now, after that, they decided that they were going to sample, or not sample, but pull songs off of Elvis's Christmas album and make an EP of, a Christmas EP, and they called it Christmas with Elvis. And it has such a cool cover because Elvis is so young. I remember when I first saw the photo, it's a very, very young Elvis, and behind him are mountaintops with snow. I kept thinking, how in the world did they ever get this picture? I don't even know how old he was, but he looks pretty young. So I'm wondering if it was a picture taken from a family album, photo album or something, or because it doesn't even look like he dyed his hair in that picture either. Elvis Presley had sandy blonde hair. You heard it here, folks. Sandy blonde hair. Elvis had sandy blonde hair, not black. All right. So anyway, the picture, I think his hair was a little bit lighter, so it's kind of weird. I think there's another, for LP fans only, I think the cover for LP fans only, I think it's Elvis's natural hair color. I don't think his hair is black. And again, a very young picture of him. I don't know where they got it from, but RCA liked it and they used it. Okay, so now comes 1960. All right, and Elvis. I think Elvis is he out of the army in 1960? I think so. I'm not sure. I'm not clear on the dates. You can leave it in the comments below if you want. But anyway, Touch of Gold Volume 3 came out. That was EPA 5141, and that came out in 1960. Now here's where things kind of changed for the EP format. But in 1961, RCA tried this. They were always trying different things to sell records, right? Their albums couldn't just be stereo. They had to be living stereo. Now, what's the difference between living stereo and stereo? I have no idea. But that's just the way they wanted. Theirs were special. Theirs were living stereo, as opposed to dead stereo. You definitely don't want dead stereo. But anyway, living stereo was RCA's version of stereo. And every once in a while, they would come up with these different ideas about, well, what can we call it, or what can we do to help sell things, especially if record sales weren't as good as they could have been. And so at one point in time, they came up with this idea called the Compact 33 single. I think they played at 33 speed, and there were like 6 of them. From a collector's standpoint, they're incredibly hard to find, except for Lonely Man. I don't know what it is about that Compact 33, but Lonely Man Compact 33 is the easiest Compact 33 to find. So easy that when people find it and they go, oh my God, I found a Compact 33, oh, they get all excited like it's big bucks and everything. But I've seen in the past 40-something years, I've seen about, 30 of them. So they can't be all that rare. It's just the fact that it's a Compact 33. Now, find a Compact 33 of Can't Help Falling in Love or Good Luck Charm. Those are next to impossible to find. I think I've only seen those Compact 33s once in my lifetime. And other than a picture, in person. And I think I haven't seen all of them. Anyway, getting into the Compact 33s, RCA decided to release an EP in 1961. The number is LPC 128, and it's called Elvis by Request. And it was kind of a weird kind of release because it had Flaming Star on it, and Elvis had the cowboy hat and everything. So it kind of had a movie-related cover, and which, of course, they did much later when they did Elvis Sings Flaming Star compact or Camden album, like you saw in the last show. But anyway, he's got the cowboy hat on, and it's Flaming Star, and it says Elvis by Request. So it's Flaming Star, and then it's also Summer Kisses, Winter Tears, which was a song that was recorded for the movie Flaming Star, but was never used. And thank God they didn't use it, because it's the stupidest song I ever heard. But what makes it even worse is it was supposed to be sung around a campfire. Elvis was, as a cowboy or whatever, and he's sitting with a bunch of Indians. And if you can imagine this, as serious as that movie Flaming Star was, which was directed by Don Siegel, who was a great action director, went on to direct Clint Eastwood in Dirty Harry and Two Mules for Sister Sarah and a few other things. How stupid would it have been for Elvis to sit around with a bunch of Indians singing Summer Kisses, Winter Tears? But anyway, that's what they wanted, and rumor is they filmed it. So, man, I would love to see that deleted scene. I'd probably be laughing through the whole thing. But anyway, so there was Flaming Star, Summer Kisses, Winter Tears, and then 2 other songs that were basically, It's Now or Never and Are You Lonesome Tonight? After that came this EP right here, Follow That Dream. And this is, this is a little mini soundtrack like Jailhouse Rock was, all right? And that's the front cover right there. And here's the back cover, all right? And, this is kind of cool. They used, I think that picture is from Follow That Dream. I'm pretty sure that's where it's from. But again, speaking of Elvis's hair color, he did not dye his hair black in Follow That Dream. It was more of his natural color. If anything, it was dyed a brownish color. But but you can tell if you look closely that it's brown. Anyway, so Follow That Dream was released after the movie came out. They decided they were going to put the 4 songs on this album or on this EP to keep the EP format alive, because it was a movie, and the only way you could get these songs was on this EP. And the songs are Follow That Dream, Angel, What a Wonderful Life, and I'm Not the Marrying Kind. All right, so that was the next EP to come out, and again, a movie soundtrack. And right after that, it was followed by Kid Galahad. I think the whole idea was, if it was a movie where there were only 4 or 5 songs, and they didn't have enough to make an album, they decided to go ahead and put it on an EP, which is why, as I talked about in the last show, they took the EPs together to put them on an album when they released the Camden albums. But back then, it was just not enough songs, so they put it on the EP to keep the EP format alive. And then following Kid Galahad was Viva Las Vegas. All right, this is the EP. And you want to talk about the biggest mistake RCA ever made, it was this. Because, first of all, Viva Las Vegas had more than enough songs for an album. And of course, there was no Viva Las Vegas soundtrack LP until it came out on Follow That Dream, much, much, much later. On the back, they're promoting the other EPs, and you could tell that this was a push by RCA to keep this format alive, because it was not doing as well as it was in the 50s when they released like 9 of these things in one year. Now they were coming out almost like once a year. So they were plugging it on the back. See, there's even Jailhouse Rock and the early ones. And these are all, of course, movie EPs. The reason this is the biggest mistake is because this has 1, 2, 3, 4 songs on it. It doesn't have Viva Las Vegas. It doesn't have What I Say. And there's all these other songs that RCA, for some reason, decided to scatter across other releases here and there as either bonus songs or I think Viva Las Vegas didn't appear on LP until the box set came out, the 50 Worldwide Gold Award hits. But this is just a terribly missed opportunity. This movie was so big and so popular and made so much money, it was stupid for them to put this on an EP. Maybe their thought was, okay, we'll put it on EP because it's a great movie and this will boost the sales of the EP. Well, okay. Remember how I said earlier that I bought EPs, but not many? Well, guess what? This one I bought because I loved Viva Las Vegas when I saw it in the theater when it first came out, because I was madly in love with Anne Margaret. Sorry, Carol. And Anne Margaret was kind of, she was on RCA Records too, so they almost had like 2 artists on this. RCA had 2 artists, or 2 interesting artists on in the same movie. So they decided to, put this out, and it is what it is. It's just a missed opportunity. They should have made an LP, but instead they made an EP, and I'm sure it was a big seller because of the simple fact it was Viva Las Vegas and Anne Margaret. We're getting down to the last ones now. This is Tickle Me. I bought this EP when it came out. And I was thrilled, by the way, this is my personal copy. I was thrilled to get this because I don't know if you could tell or not, but it's in the shrink wrap on the back. Again, there they are promoting the other movie-related EPs. All right, but that's what they were doing. They were trying to keep the format alive. Now, Tickle Me, I think the reason this one sold so well is such a great-looking cover. Elvis looks great on it. And, it was advertising an album which never came out, by the way. It says, coming soon, Elvis Anniversary LP album. What was that? I don't even know. Some people said it was Elvis for Everyone, but maybe it was. But there was no indication that it was an anniversary album at all. I remember when I bought this in the store, I saw that, and I kept looking for that album to come out, and it never did. I think it was Elvis for Everyone came out, and I didn't even make the connection there that maybe this might have been what they were talking about. But anyway, this EP is, again, songs from the movie, And what's funny about this is these are all songs that were released, I think, on Elvis's Back or somewhere in that time frame when he was recording Elvis's Back. And the Colonel was so cheap, he didn't want to, when it was announced they were going to do Tickle Me, the Colonel didn't want to put out the money to record new songs. So he actually went and said, why don't you pull some songs from, previous albums or whatever. So they jumped into Elvis's Back, and you get I Feel Like I've Known You Forever, Slowly But Surely, Night Rider, Put the Blame on Me, and Dirty, Dirty Feeling. These might not all be from Elvis's Back. It might be after that. But anyway, whatever the case might be, there were never any original songs recorded for the movie Tickle Me. Anyway, I still love this EP. I think it's so cool that I got a copy of it, and it's in the shrink. Yes, they actually came in the shrink wrap. I don't think the first ones did, but this goes back to what I talked about before, about how I think RCA started using shrink wrap in 1964. So this is 1965, so this EP is in the shrink. All right, and then finally we come up to the last EP, and I don't have a copy of it, but I did when it came out. I bought it, and that was Easy Come, Easy Go. And I believe that had 6 songs on it, and that was EPA 4387, and that was came out in 1967. It was officially the last RCA EP at the time, because of the fact that the format had just basically gone down the toilet. Again, they tried to keep it alive by taking a movie like Easy Come, Easy Go and only putting the songs on the EP. And that was the only way you could get the songs. So if the EP sold and you liked the songs in the movie, that's why you would buy it. But it was a movie connection, and I don't know how many people who at that point in time, after the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and everybody was out, really liked Elvis's movie songs enough where they would go and buy the EP. But I would imagine it did not sell very well. But nonetheless, it still was a cool cover, and I bought a copy of it when it came out. But that was 1967. Now, last but not least, in 1996, for the anniversary of Heartbreak Hotel, and I Was the single, they decided they were going to release an EP version of it. The number is BMG 078636447767. Now, you're going to be tested on that, so try to remember that number. That was an EP that came out, and I think I mentioned it has it wasn't even a cardboard cover. It was more of a paper cover. That was the last of the EPs. So officially, as far as commercial EPs were concerned, those were the EPs that were available to the public that they could go buy in the stores, including the Heartbreak Hotel and I Was the One. Okay, and now some interesting facts about Elvis Extended Play 45s. In the 50s, for some reason, there were not all of the EPs came on a black label. There were some EPs that were released on a maroon label. And the maroon-colored label, if I'm correct, was used for other RCA releases. I think something like maybe the classical releases or the jazz releases or something like that. And for some odd reason, at one point, some of Elvis' EPs were printed up using this maroon label. Now, I don't know a lot about it, and I don't have a lot of information about it, but I will tell you this. If you can find any of the EPs on a maroon label, you've got some big bucks. I know maroon label EPs that have sold for a lot of money, hundreds of dollars. And then there's also some of these EPs that are only rumored to exist, like King Creole and a couple, like I think King Creole was the main one. But for years, everybody kept saying there was a maroon label EP of King Creole. I can't remember if it's volume 1 or 2. But there was, I know what it was. It was the Gold Standard EPs, and we'll talk about that in a minute. There was a rumor that it existed and nobody could find it, and then finally it was found, and I think we even put it on the cover of one of the Presleyana books. But they sell for hundreds of dollars, so keep that in mind. If you ever run across an EP on a maroon-colored label, with Nipper, RCA Victor, and everything else on it. The only difference being a maroon color. Grab those suckers because they're definitely worth a lot of money. Another odd label variation, which was not exclusive just to EPs, was the Silver Line label, where they put out a bunch of 45s, and then they did it with some EPs as well. And again, I'm not really sure why they did this, and there's been a lot of speculation and everything about it as to why it was done. All I know is that they did it, and if you find any EPs with a Silver Line label, they're worth some money. They're definitely worth more money than the regular ones. Now, there were cover variations on the EPs that would change the value of some of them. The easiest one I can show you is the Tickle Me. This one, as I said before, says coming soon, special Elvis anniversary LP. Now, if I'm correct, there were 3 different covers for this EP. One that said coming soon, the anniversary album. There was another one with another title underneath. And then it came out with just black. Why RCA did that, I have no idea. Maybe it's because they realized they weren't going to release this anniversary LP. They might have started off with, ask for coming soon, which is the logo, the thing they usually put at the bottom of 45s. Ask for the Elvis LP, or ask for the Double Trouble, or coming soon, the Double Trouble LP, that kind of thing. Maybe they decided that at one point they realized that they were going to do this anniversary album, and then after that they decided, well, we're not going to do it, so they went with black. I don't know. All I know is there's 3 variations of this cover, and then A Touch of Gold also has a cover variation. A lot of it had to do with the title, A Touch of Gold. Very similar to Love Letters from Elvis, how that was on 3 lines or 2 lines. A Touch of Gold was on 4 lines, and then they changed it where it was a touch of gold, and of was off to the left. If you could find the one that has the mistake, that's the one that's the more collectible. And you could tell because the title's not correct. It just doesn't look right. The one that looks better is the more common one. The one that was off was one that they probably rushed out and decided to change. Again, I don't know the complete story behind that, but there's that. So these EPs, some EPs had different variations. Those 2 were the ones that I remember the most. The Easy Come, Easy Go EP was the last and the only EP to be released as a white label promo that was only given to radio stations. And it's very, very hard to get or hard to find now. I've had it a few times, but again, not an easy EP to find. I think what the whole idea was, they put it on a white label promo and sent it to radio stations, hoping that the radio stations would play one of the songs. Although, to be honest, most of those songs were terrible, especially Carol's favorite song, Yoga Is As Yoga Does. Was waiting for her to say something. She hates that song. But, I mean, these songs were pretty bad. I think You Gotta Stop was on there, was pretty good. But, The Love Machine and some of these other, they're just terrible songs. So, I mean, RCA was getting desperate. The format was going down the toilet. They tried to do anything and everything they could to keep that format alive. And I think by making it a white label promo and sending it to radio stations, that was just another attempt to keep the format alive, and it didn't work. The EPs went down the toilet, and that was it. My personal and final thoughts on EPs. Let's see. Well, like I said, I'm not a big fan of EPs because I became an Elvis fan in the early 60s. And the only EPs that I bought were the ones from that 60s, like Viva Las Vegas and Tickle Me and that. I don't know if I would have really gotten into them that much, but maybe I would have. But they're just not of major interest to me. I get collections offered to me all the time. People selling their collections. And the only reason I have some of these EPs, some of these are not even my personal, they're EPs I have for sale. The reason I have them is I bought a collection and the EPs were in there. But I don't think I would ever go out of my way to buy a bunch of EPs together. Not because they're not worth money, because they are worth money. If you find them in mint condition, they are worth money. But they're just not that big of interest to me. So needless to say, I had a real hard time deciding if I wanted to do a whole show on EPs, but I did. So that's my final thoughts on EPs. Here is the new Elvis movie soundtrack LP. And this is one of the ones I was telling you that was coming out on November 18th. Of course, at the time of this recording, I think we're the 25th today. And it's cool. You know, it's the LP. It does have, it is on gold vinyl. Okay, but that's because it was available at Walmart. And I'll tell you, if you're going to get this thing at Walmart, you better get your butt out there and grab it now, because there weren't, like, I went to 5 Walmarts and I only found 2 copies, and that was the end of it. I know Ed from King's Court did a sealed to reveal of this, and it was very amusing because he predicted what the inside of the cover would look like accurately, and he hadn't opened it yet. He had no idea. I would not open this. I'm not going to open this. But would you believe that if you open this up and you look on the inside, the only thing that's in there is this on a larger scale? It's the belt buckle spread across two album covers on the inside. It's like, where are pictures of Austin Butler? Where are pictures of Tom Hanks? Why isn't there a picture of Elvis? For crying out loud, why isn't there a picture of Eminem? Although I'm not thrilled about that. But some of the artists on here, you would think there would be pictures of them inside. But this is it, folks. This is it. That's the cover, and that's the back cover. And that's all you get. I don't know. I mean, I'm only getting it because I collect Elvis records, okay? And I love LPs, but I don't know. Bit of a disappointment to me. But at least it's on vinyl, and it's gold, okay? You can also get it just as black vinyl, but to be honest, I think I'd rather have the gold vinyl one because it's such a boring album. But I thought I'd show that to you. There's a guy at a record show that I see a lot, and I feel so bad because I can't remember his name. Wait a minute. I'm going to look him up on the phone. All right, hang in there. Hang in there. Let me see if I can find if I got his name right. Let's see. Yes, his name is Joe. Okay, Joe, if you're watching, you said, okay, are you ever going to bring back the black box, your black case? Well, guess what? I'm bringing the black case back here. I don't bring this case out that often. I know when I first started the show, I said that, you know, I was going to bring out my black record case because whenever I did shows, I always had, you know, the rare items or rarer albums in here, or the more expensive albums whenever I did a show. So I wanted to make sure that anytime I use this, I had something really special to show you, and I do. So let's take a look. Open up the black case. Do you want to do some music, Carol? No, not that theme. No, don't do that. No, that was our wedding theme. Don't do that. Okay. A while back, I was talking about rigid versus flex vinyl, and I was telling everybody how incredibly valuable and rare the rigid reissues were. And in some cases, the original rigids are very, very rare. And if you remember, I had told you that one of the absolute rarest of all the rigid orange label records was this record here. Now, I know you've seen this album 1,000 times, but if you remember, we talked about this. I told you that out of the 40-something years that I've been collecting Elvis Presley, I have only seen this record one other time. But this is a rigid, that's the way it is. And if I do that, you can tell. Because anybody who knows about the orange flexes, you can move them. You can't move this at all. It's a rigid. Now, I do have to make a correction because Mark, who has the channel, the Elvis for Everyone channel, Great title, by the way, Mark. That happened to be the title of my show for many years in Memphis. He had bought one of these a while back, but it wasn't a rigid. And I remember he had a seal to reveal, and he opened it up, and he pulled it out. It was the orange flex. And incorrectly, I told him that the reason why I could tell it wasn't rigid was because the inner sleeve wasn't the red inner sleeve. Okay, well, I'm sure there were some with the red inner sleeve, but I was surprised because when I pulled the album out, it had the black, the black LP inner sleeve. Okay, this is typically used for the 1971 reissues. But the main reason you could tell this wasn't was because the last record that's there, and the last record is Elvis's Worldwide Hits Volume 1, 50 Gold Award hits. And that would be perfect because the next album was That's the Way It Is. All right. So even though I recall, and in my collection, I have one with the red sleeve, here's one with the black and white sleeve. There is no way this is a flex. I am careful, okay? But there's no way. It's rigid as can be. And it's funny because it doesn't have the outer ring. It has the little inner ring, okay? I don't even know what that's called. I know people call it different things. But anyway, so this is pretty cool. And just so you know, it sells. Being that it's so incredibly rare, I told you before that it sells for hundreds of dollars, and I am correct. I looked it up, and I also did some research, and this you're looking at about $300 or more for this album. And yes, it is for sale, but if you want it, you better contact me right away because it's not going to be here for long. Now, another rare thing, again related to the Dynaflex or the orange flexes. This album here, all right, for those of you who are Elvis collectors, you'll notice that this is the original Kissin' Cousins album, stereo album cover, but the cast photo's gone. To the best of my knowledge, this is the first pressing cover, all right? So why in the world did RCA use this cover for an orange? See, I told you they were flex. An orange flex. And there it is, folks. Look at this sucker. Can you see that? See how that bends? I know it looks like I'm warping it, but that's a Dynaflex. But anyway, the whole point of this, the whole rarity of this, is why in the world would they have the first cover without the cast photo on a 1971 release of Orange Flex? It just doesn't make any sense. But this goes back to the old thing I talked about before. If you remember, I was telling you that my theory is that RCA used a lot of the same covers. Like if the factories had leftover covers and they were putting out something new, they would use the same cover over and over again. But, you would think this cover would be long gone because this cover came out in 1963 and this album is 1971. So it's such an oddball thing because what, did they have covers laying around for like 10 years or more? And then one day when they were making these, they decided to use them? I don't know. There is nothing on the cover, like there's no RE. Some of these things had REs on them, which would mean reissue. There's no RE anywhere on this cover. Nowhere. So it can't be a reissue cover. It feels a little thinner really. The cardboard feels a little thinner than maybe the original, but it's really hard to tell. I really don't know. Maybe they did press another cover and they just forgot to put this on. I don't know. It's a big mystery. I don't think we'll ever know the exact answer unless we have somebody who worked at the plant who can tell us why. But again, very rare, very, very rare record. Just it being the orange Dynaflex and then not having the cast photo. Okay, so now comes the fun part. This is the ongoing story of Moody Blue. This album, I swear, is just, I just can't stop putting this in my show or including this in my show. It just never ceases. All right, and anybody who knows me or has watched the earlier shows, there's a big controversy about black vinyl versus blue vinyl, which was the first, which was the second, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to go all over that. But I found this copy just recently. It is sealed, all right? And you'll notice there are no stickers on the cover. Usually right here is the sticker for the hits Moody Blue and Way Down. And on this side is the sticker that says the Blue Album. There's usually 2 stickers on this album. Now, a while back on my show, I found a copy that was sealed, and it only had 1 sticker. It had the sticker that said, includes the hit Moody Blue and Way Down. So I was pretty convinced that that was black vinyl. I opened it, and it was blue. And I was shocked, okay? So I found this one. And this is an AFL one. It's not an AQL one. It has neither of the stickers. There's no residue on the cover at all, where the stickers may have been on there and then fallen off, okay? So I went ahead and bought it, paid about the same amount for it as I did the other one. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it, all right? I am pretty sure this is black. Pretty sure, because it does not have either sticker on it. So my guess is that this is black vinyl. So if you are ready, drum roll. So let's go ahead and open this up. All right, here we go. It's almost there, folks. And there it is. All right. I know somebody made fun of me in the comment section the last time I did this because my reaction was I was so blown away. All right, so here we go. Moody Blue should be black. Inner sleeve is, the inner sleeve is the one with the stars. And it's blue.
So much for that theory.
You know, I'm running out of theories, folks. Now I just don't know. This makes no sense, though. It should not be blue. I guarantee you there's not going to be another opening of a Moody Blue album on this show ever again. That's the end of it right there, folks. That is the end. All right. So there's my sealed to reveal. All right. Okay. Quit laughing. All right. She's laughing because she was with me when I found it, and I'm going, this has got to be black. This has got to be black. Oh, why don't you open it on the show? Yeah, okay. Made a fool of myself again. All right. I guess that's it, folks. That's kind of wraps up the show, okay? So if you have any suggestions about show topics, leave them in the comment section below, or you can send me an email. Don't forget to send me your inquiries and want lists to collectingtheking@gmail.com for pricing, shipping, and payment details. We have over 1,000 Elvis 45 CDs and LPs in stock, as well as RCA promotional items, sheet music, authentic Las Vegas and tour souvenirs, and more. We don't have a list or catalog available, which is why we encourage you to send inquiries and want lists. If we don't have something you're looking for, we might be able to find it for you. So don't forget to contact us at collectingtheking@gmail.com. That's it for episode 23, A Touch of Gold. I am Robert Alaniz. You're not. And I am out of here.